Okay, let's move on to ethnicity. Ethnicity refers to the shared social, cultural, and historical experiences among people with similar national or regional backgrounds. So these are the things that make subgroups of a population different from one another. An ethnic group is a subgroup of a population with a set of shared social, cultural, and historical experiences. They have relatively distinctive beliefs, values, and behaviors, and they have some sense of identity of belonging to the subgroup. So the terms ethnicity and ethnic group avoid the biological connotations of the terms race and racial group. But ethnicity still carries prejudice, discrimination, and attempts at ethnic cleansing. And of course, different ethnic groups have engaged in hanky-panky too. And that has blurred the lines between ethnic groups in the same ways it has blurred the lines between races. With regard to your risk factors for diseases, you'll occasionally see a particular ethnic group at higher risk than others. But realize that this will be more about common behaviors among the people in that group. It won't be as much about their biological differences. But like race, there has been so much crossover between ethnicities that most people don't even know their true ethnicity. Have you ever seen one of those commercials about ancestry or DNA testing? There's, 23andMe or and Ancestry.com and various others. Typically, they depict a person who thought they knew their ethnicity. But alas, they find out that they were all wrong. They learn that apparently there was some hanky-panky in the past, and it turns out that they are just a mutt like everybody else. Okay, what about nationality? Nationality refers to your identity in terms of citizenship. It defines your country of origin or habitation. Your citizenship is your nationality. The country that issued your passport is your nationality. So nationality is only about where you live. Now, of course, where you live will have an effect on some of your risk for diseases, but it's not biological. You can be any race and any ethnicity and live anywhere. So nationality is more of a legal status for purposes of voting and other rights. But you know, your true nationality and your national identity may not match. National identity is your subjective sense of belonging to one nation. But you can be a national of a country in the sense of being a citizen, but have no subjective or emotional connection to it. For example, many people who have migrated to Europe identify with their ancestral background rather than with their country of citizenship. Conversely, you may feel like you belong to a particular country without having any legal relationship to it. For instance, young children who come to the United States illegally have little contact with their native country and its culture, but often they still have a national identity of feeling like a citizen of their native country. So for some diseases, you might see a higher risk for a particular nationality. If you've only lived in one country all your life, your nationality is really easy. But if you've lived on every continent except Antarctica like I have, it's a little more tricky. So it's possible to be a mutt with regard to your nationality too. And it may or may not have anything to do with hanky-panky. And finally, we have religious affiliation. Now, of course, this refers to your religious identity, but it's really about how you choose to worship. It's about certain behaviors. Your religious affiliation may determine various things about your diet and lifestyle. And that's what's really at the core of any religious affiliation that might affect your risk of any disease. But in addition to that, you have to take into account that people of the same religious affiliation may share geographic location, tend to intermarry, and ultimately may share more genetic traits than people outside that religious affiliation. So be sure to consider these things when you see a religious affiliation as a risk factor for a disease. And of course, if you have a mixed religious background, you might just be a mutt. Just because you're religious does not mean you have no hanky-panky in your past. So now you know all these different categories will be things you see in the list of risk factors for various diseases. Take what you've learned here today into account when you see them, because while they all have some significance, they also have some limitations. By themselves, none of them determines your risk for anything, because for the most part, we're all a bunch of mutts. Forgive me for calling you a mutt, but you know that I mean it in the most loving way. And accept the fact that people have been engaging in hanky-panky between different social groups for ages. So if you think about some of this, I'm going to bet that at this point you can think about various forms that you've filled out, various conversations you've had with people, various interactions, various questions you've had, when people really mix these terms up. And, you know, sometimes when people ask you something like, where are you from, which is, of course, really just about nationality, what they really mean is, what race are you? Or they don't necessarily mean what they ask. And most people don't know the differences between these categories. Believe it or not, they definitely get them confused all the time. And it's always shocking to me when I see some official form that should be proper and keep these things aligned properly. They rarely do. They're always a mishmash of nationalities and ethnicities and races and religious identities all mixed up together as if they're all the same thing. But you see that they are not at all. And what you will see in the education I give you is that for every disease that I teach you about, I give you a list of risk factors that tell you if you're at risk for that disease. And some of the risk factors have to do with race, ethnicity, nationality, or religious affiliation. That's just the way it works. And you have to know the differences between them to make use of that information. And you have to know how to limit how much you put into that fact of a risk factor. You have to understand how much that risk factor counts and how little it counts. And you have to understand that it doesn't trump everything else. And never, ever, ever does any of this categorization of race, ethnicity, nationality, or religion trump your own behaviors and lifestyle measures that you have chosen by yourself on your own as an individual that definitely have an effect on your risk for diseases. So I will be giving you big units on every disease, one of which will start very soon on heart attack. And you will see how I give you the list of risk factors with every single one of them. It's very powerful because you learn how to find whether or not you're at risk for a disease, and that allows you to lower your risk for the disease. So be sure that you're getting this education in a chronological manner. Please, please, please go to my website. You will see all the YouTube videos lined up in order there. Watch them in order. If you're listening to podcasts, listen to those in order. If you read my book, read it in a chronologic fashion. If you get the webinars, watch them in order. There are 15 of them, numbered 1 through 15. Watch them chronologically. And if you have a consultation with me, I will make sure that you have the whole basis and foundation of the education, and you will be well suited for whatever you want to do for managing your menopause your way. So this is Menopause Taylor. This is where I will leave you today. Thank you for listening in. Please go to my website, and I will see you next time. Bye.